Dov'è la X? Eccola. Ciao, come va? State bevendo? Bevete un po' che alzate i voti almeno, no? Vabbè che dopo lo scopazzo del melo cosa stiamo qua a fare? Finita la serata. Qui c'è climate change come problema. No, io mi sa avevo la presentazione in inglese, però volevo fare una cosa. How many for English? Ok. Quanti per italiano? Ok. Quanti per tedesco? Vabbè, non lo so io, comunque questa era inutile. Ok, so let's do it in English. Mi sono giocato 2 minuti, partiamo da adesso per favore. Okay, so my presentation is about climate neutrality by 2050. Yes, but how? So first of all, why? Why we need to reach climate neutrality? So why it's so important to reach? If we look at the CO2 emissions in the historical trends, we can see some regular cycles. But in the last century, we also saw a very increase of the CO2 emissions, and it's still increasing. And if we look at the also global temperature, we see a really clear correlation with the CO2 emissions. And so, yeah, of course, the temperature is increasing, and it's now higher than 1 degree. So what about Europe? So Europe is doing its part. So in this animation, we can see the renewable energy share by country. And we can see how we are improving, of course, in the last 20 years. But still, there is a lot to do to reach climate neutrality. But Europe aims to be climate neutral by 2050 and to be an economy with net zero greenhouse gas emissions. But Europe really matters. So these are the CO2 emissions at global level in the last 20, 30 years, I don't remember. So as we can see, Europe counts for less than 10% and Italy less than 1%. So the answer could be no, of course. But there is a but. Of course, it's important to give the example to the others as one of the richest countries in the world. And this is something very important that I liked a lot, is to lead by example, which means to guide the others through your behavior instead of your words. Very nice, right? And so I was looking for an image for this sentence because I wanted something nice. And what's better than Javier Zanetti to describe this image? I don't know. And we can say that Europe is the Javier Zanetti of the decarbonization process. So with this I could, but we still have 10 slides, so I go on. So where do emissions come from? Mostly energy. Energy, then agriculture and land use, then industrial processes, and in the end, waste. So energy is the problem. How researchers can help? Researchers, like me, use computer models to simulate different future alternatives of the energy system. What does it mean? A computer model is a list of mathematical equations to describe a phenomenon like our energy system. So, and the objective is to provide some future alternatives and so to provide to the policymakers some plan A, B, C. Yeah, this seems very nice, and I was very proud of this sentence. So how I feel and how I look. This was me after writing this sentence, so I felt like the master of data, the chosen one, to solve the real problem of the world. how I look, probably like something like that. Why is complex? The electricity sector. So let's start from the electricity sector. So electricity can be seen as a flow of water to simplify the problem. So we have electricity, so a flow of electrons, and then we have a flow of water. So let's make this analogy. So we have, of course, in a water system, we have some water sources. And in a power system, we have some generation sources, like solar power, or photovoltaics, wind power, or fossil fuel power plants. Sorry, I saw a hand. I'm already at 9 minutes? No, okay. And yeah, so of course we have rivers and water grid, and we have electric grid in the electricity system. Then we have lakes or water reservoir, and we have storages like electric storage of batteries or pumped hydro storage or something else. And then, of course, there is the demand of water, like a water sink, like a tree, or so on, and the demand of electricity, for example, to charge our devices, our homes. But it's not only like that. Of course, in the energy system, there are some other sectors, like the heating and transport sectors should be included in all this big model to simulate the energy system. And in the future, of course, there is the electrification of these sectors, so the electrification through electric vehicles and heat pumps for space heating of our homes. So to conclude, what we are looking for is the perfect cake. So we have a lot of technologies in our energy system, and each can be represented as a slice of a cake, and we have this cake. The cake is the combination of technologies in an energy system, in our energy system. So what we do, this is the presentation to explain, let's say, our work. What we do is using computer models to test a certain configuration of the energy system, and then to conclude that maybe it's not the correct one for 2050 and for climate neutrality. Then we try a different one, and the same, maybe it's too expensive, maybe there are too many emissions, until we find the perfect cake and we celebrate. Thank you.